Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the August 14th Disability Advisory Board for 2024. We're going to go ahead and get started. We have a quorum. We have 3 people here, so we are good to go. The first order of business would be do I have a motion to approve the June 12th, 2024 meeting minutes? You want Cynthia?
I'll make a motion, yeah.
All right, Cynthia, so
And I'll
moved.
second.
And Abby, second. Okay. And all in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. And I just wanted to remind everyone that all future Disability Advisory Board meetings will be held in person. And if, for future meetings, Cynthia and Abby remind me that I should get the key just in case Dave isn't here once we start to do that. But I did forget that I probably had to get the key. Again, open positions. We do have 2 positions, actually 3. I think we have 1 member and then 2 alternates available. So if anyone's interested, please send your resume into the LMT Township Manager, and you can get set up for an interview, and we'd be happy to have you. So just a reminder, we do have open positions. If there's any public comment, now, if anyone's out there, I guess no one's listening, but no one has called in yet, so we'll go ahead and move forward. Reminder about upcoming events, the No LMT Community Day, so everyone's aware of that, so we won't have that event to, have our table out, which is unfortunate because that's where we met Abby last year, so that was helpful to kind of get the word out. So we have open positions, and now we don't have, an event that we can get the word out to. Claire at the Bucks County SIL did reach out to me because she was hoping to also sit at the table with us. So she was a little sad that that wasn't happening. But again, we want to keep that relationship going. So Claire, what's her last name? Deal, I think. She works at the Bucks County Center for Independent Living for anyone out there listening, and you can look them up online. We have that on our website, the link. But hopefully next year, the Community Day will be back and we can have a table and she can join us then. The next event, we were supposed to have the 5K anyway, run, walk. It was supposed to be held, July 21st, and for some reason they had to cancel it. I don't know the reason why, but they had to cancel and they postponed it until October 13th. So that'll be this year, Saturday, October 13th. I think it begins at 8 o'clock, so they will need volunteers from 7 to 9. So as we get closer, we can go ahead and, whoever's available. I think I am around that weekend, so I'll definitely volunteer just for signing people in. And, you just sit at a table, and hopefully that'll be nicer weather than July 21st. I think it was in the 80s or 90s, so that would have been a little warm for people. But again, that'll be posted on Facebook pages. That'll be posted on the LMT website. I think it's around $35 for residents and $40 for non-residents. So hopefully they get a good turnout, and we'll be able to have some volunteers to help out the LMT Parks and Rec crew. Anyone have any comments on that? Questions?
I know that I'm definitely going to be out of town then, so I'm sorry
Okay.
about that.
Okay, no problem. Good to know, though. Thank you. The Memorial Park Playground. So Monica had reached out to me. The surface is going to be going in, and I saw that was approved on the Board of Supervisors meeting minutes. And I don't know if there's going to be a little money left for shade or how they're going to come up with the money for that. But first, she wanted just an opinion on maybe if we couldn't, obviously we can't shade the entire playground, because if you do go up there, it's a fairly large space to put shade, over top. They'd also wanted to kind of do it so that if they had to stick a pole in, maybe do that before they put the surface in. But I don't know if that's going to be able to happen before they do the surface. Just excuse me for one moment, because it's our, okay, it's just the other member. She was trying to call in, but I I think we're okay without her, so. So I went up there, and the shade project, I think, would be best suited if it was in the middle of the playground. If you go up there in the back of the swings, and then they have like that big rocking thing, and then when you first walk in, it's like the cute little table, and then some little climby things to do. So in the middle, though, are like the rope climb, it has the slide, it has I think more where people would tend to hang out on some of those climby things, that spider-looking thing. I don't know if you've been up there. So I thought, and in the middle, they also have a dirt spot. So I'm not sure what they were going to do with that. It used to have a tree in it. So I was thinking maybe they could stick a pole in that dirt spot, right? So that would be in the middle. It won't compromise the surface that they're going to put in. And then maybe try to put some poles out on the outside of the fence. So it wouldn't really have to be inside on that surface. So I don't know how, large of an area, if they even can do that, but it would be something that, so I just wrote her an email and asked her maybe if she could look at that, maybe putting a large pole in the middle, doing some kind of shade going out across. It would cover, maybe 4 or 5 things. And then it's in the middle. If somebody needs to get out of the sun, it's right there. They can go over and play on something that's in the shade. And the other things that were up near the swings they were like those rocks where you can go inside and you kind of have shade already because you're inside like a tunnel. So I didn't feel like we had to cover something like that.
I will say that the 2 accessible things, the rocking that's wheelchair accessible and the swings, both weren't mentioned. And I know that just what my kids can do, none of that stuff that you mentioned under the shade would be things
Right.
that they can participate in.
So I looked
just thoughts.
I looked at the rocking. You have to make sure you turn on your, yeah. So the rocking, which is accessible, I noticed it did have tree shade that was coming over top of it at certain times. And that's why I thought, well, maybe we don't need it there.
Okay.
And then the swing, it is over on that side. Maybe we could do something separate. And then what about, I know the other accessible, that we put in was the slide, because it has the, kind of has like a wavy feel for people with MS, or what was it? It feels good on their back. I can't remember. Yeah,
he wouldn't be able
to do that. Yeah. So that would, I was thinking that should be covered too. But but definitely, we'll look into that. And I still think they need to put some trees on the outside. I know they said
Trees
that the
would
wind,
definitely help.
it's the wind that's killing the trees. So it's from the west winds over on that side, the trees don't grow. Over by the bathrooms, the trees are getting very large. They almost have to cut some of those back. So I think it just depends what time of day you go. You kind of have to figure that out. But yeah, definitely we'll look into just the accessible, parts of the playground, make sure there, at least one of them is shaded.
Yeah, I really like the idea of the trees because that's really planning for the future.
Yeah.
Right. I almost was saying if they put like a tree that doesn't, maybe it's having a hard time growing, could they put a couple evergreens like over on the other side of them? So layering it, would that give protection for the trees to be able to grow? So, but that's a question for the Environmental Council. So maybe we can talk with them, and why they're not growing. So, all right, let me just check again, because I think Michelle was trying to log in, and she's not going to be able to log in. All right, the next item is the Parks and Rec projects. So we always like to go through those. And I wanted to start with the project that they asked us to get involved with again this year was the ADA transition plan. So that was something that we helped the Parks and Rec do a couple of years back. And so they needed to update this to keep their accreditation. They have to update the ADA transition plan every, I guess, so often. I don't know how many years. So we took, for anyone out there listening, we took every park area in the Township, and we reviewed them and came up with our wish list of making things accessible. So now we were taking them and kind of going over them and seeing if we wanted to add anything, and also complete, if something was completed, make sure that completed dates were updated in the handbook here. So I know we all took various areas. Cynthia, were you able to look at the Skylar tennis courts? Do you have any updates on that? Okay.
They have one porta potty, like temporary, like restroom porta potty type thing, and the door width is 33 inches. So that's, I think, within the guidelines, which I read somewhere it was 32 inches is the minimum. And they have 2 handicapped parking spots that are clearly marked, and the driveway entrance is wheelchair accessible. There was a mention on the plan about the curb cut, and the nearest curb cut from across the street on the other side of, do you say it's Skylar or Schuler?
Skylar.
Skylar, that's what I thought. We've had a lot of discussion about that in my family, about the curb pronunciation. Okay, anyway, it's about 50 yards from the driveway entrance, so it's not really right across, but.
Is there a street across, or no, it's just the pathway?
No, it's the pathway. And as I said, the curb cut is about 50 yards.
They probably, for safety
to the
reasons,
left.
can't put a curb cut in the middle of, like, not at a crossroad, because that would probably be dangerous for cars, coming in and out. Okay.
Yeah. So that's.
Now,
situation.
I thought I rode by there, and I don't recall seeing signs. Do you remember seeing handicap parking signs?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
There were the signs that have, do they have the, it has to say $50 fine, and up to $50 to $200 fine. Do you recall seeing that?
I don't remember that part
Okay,
of it.
I
did
think
see the 2 handicap spots.
They had the spots, but I don't know that they have the correct signage, so we'll have to check that, because I thought that was something that last time we looked, it wasn't there. So let's check that. Okay, so that's pretty much done. I think that they said that they were done in 2023. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I think the only thing we'll check on that is the signs, and then what I'm going to do is put together an email for Monica at Parks and Rec so that she can update it. Okay. And were you going to also look at one of the softball fields? Were you able to?
Yes, I did, because they're right next to each other. So I did both of those. Yeah. So the Greg Pichola one, which is on Edgewood, that had 2 handicap parking spots. So 2 at each of the 2 parking lots. So that looked good. Then they have that curb ball cafe, and those restrooms were labeled as handicapped accessible, but they were both locked up, so I couldn't check the inside. I guess they just open them up when they actually have events there. And they were both accessible from the paved path. They have 2 batting cages that are not accessible, and the dugout areas by the ball diamonds, those are accessible from the paved path.
Okay.
And then the other complex, which is the one on Oxford Valley Road, the Fred Allen, they had a good curb cut going, to get across Oxford Valley Road. That one, it didn't look like a lot of the stuff had been done yet. So the bocce courts and the batting cages were not accessible. The dugout area of the softball fields was not accessible. The bleachers for the fields are not accessible, and the covered pavilion is not accessible. And they have 2 handicap marked bathrooms that are marked handicap accessible. They have another curb ball cafe there, and the women's bathroom entrance was blocked by a grill. So if somebody wanted to come in with a wheelchair, they wouldn't be able to get past past the doorway. But anyway, they have 3 handicap spots and 90 regular spots. So didn't seem like they had enough handicap spots over there.
I think it's 1 in 24,
Okay.
so it probably is. So
Well,
75.
like I said,
like-
they have 3 and they have
Yeah.
90 regular ones. So
Yeah, okay.
okay, so there was a note on there about trash can placement, the accessibility of the trash cans. That looked okay to me. They were next to the paved paths, so they looked okay. There was a mention about a volleyball court at that location, and I didn't see any volleyball court, so I'm not sure what they're
That's at the
referring
other
to.
one.
Yeah.
There's a beach volleyball court
Yeah.
on Edgewood, but
Right.
Yes.
I mean, that doesn't seem reasonable to expect that to be accessible anyway. So, just because you're not going to play you're not going to get a wheelchair in the sand in a beach volleyball court, I wouldn't think. And, let's see, that's all I had for that one.
Okay.
Okay.
And again, did you notice if they had the proper signage?
Well, as I said, I
For
saw
the
spot.
handicap
Now that
parking?
you mentioned it, I'm like,
Okay.
trying to think, were the signs there?
Yeah.
I think they were, but
Okay.
I'd have to go back.
Yeah.
To confirm that.
Okay, all right, no, that's great. Thank you for doing that. All right, and then Abby, you were going to take a look at Kids Kingdom?
Yeah. I wasn't able to go over to the pool area, but the handicap parking didn't have the fine marks,
Okay,
placards, and then there were a couple spots by the pool that were just painted. They
Yeah.
they didn't have signage at all.
yep,
Um,
that's been, yeah,
Okay.
forever, yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm just going through the list. So they have handicap spots on the one side of the pool where the like key fob entrance is, but the second thing on here says like the shortest route of travel to the baseball fields and tennis courts. I feel like there's definitely like space up by the tennis courts, especially they have like a lot of like marked spots where people can't park. That could end up being used for like van accessible parking. That would be closer to the pathway that goes down to the baseball courts and the tennis.
Okay, so the back parking lot.
I don't know if, I mean, like you can't just add, but I wonder if they could move like maybe 1 or 2.
Right,
Yeah, and then there's still not accessible routes between the pavilion and the playground, the restrooms, like none of that. There's, to the baseball fields, it's just like the one baseball field that goes like directly behind the pool. There's like a paved path.
okay. Is that to the baseball fields, or is that just to the tennis courts, the paved path?
So there is like a baseball field behind there, because I know my daughter's
Okay.
had a game there once,
Okay.
and we were able to just make the
Okay.
wheelchair, and that was fine. And then the restrooms, I didn't do any measurements, but there is like a handicap stall in the women's room.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure where they were talking about the curb cut that goes right into the drainage grate. I couldn't figure that
I
out.
don't know where that is.
I
Yeah.
wasn't sure.
Okay,
Yeah, I wasn't sure where that was.
because it says drainage grate.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't figure that out. So.
Okay, so we don't even know where that is. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, good. All right, and then pretty much, I won't go through everything. I looked at a bunch of other places, and I did notice, like on Veterans Square, they no longer have a porta potty there, so maybe they only use it for special events. Maybe they bring it in when they're having like Veterans Day or something. So maybe they won't have that. But I did notice that the bricks are starting to sink. So if you're coming from the parking lot to the memorial, the actual, where the memorial is, now it's more than a half an inch because the bricks are starting to settle. So I think the bricks are done by Eagle Scouts, so, I don't know what kind of materials they use, if it's sand, if it's starting to sink right, where that step is, they might have to come back every once in a while and, raise those. So that would be something that, we just have to continue the maintenance on that. 5 Mile Woods I went to, obviously they just put the path in. Our recommendation would just be to continue the path as more funds become available, take it out as far as they can. And then I did notice that there are a lot of there's a lot of growth coming up from the bottom. Weeds will find their way, plants will find their way through, so they are going to have to make sure they keep that pathway kind of cleared, so there's no sticks, popping up from it. So again, that's just maintenance. And then the only other thing I had, I think, was I know Michelle was going to look at Memorial Park, but I think pretty much it was, they're still doing some things to the back area. So I don't think it needs much more updating. Now, the only thing I wanted to bring up about Kids Kingdom is, so I was talking to Monica, and she did inform me that Kids Kingdom is going to be up for total rehaul because it's just, they maintain it, but it's 30 years old. So I think
A lot of places are doing away with all the
wood
right, playgrounds.
Right. So I think our recommendations here are going to not be implemented because, but I don't know how they're.
That's an exciting opportunity.
Yeah. But
Fun
I
thing.
can't even imagine the cost.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to come up with a guess in the millions because just doing the little playground up at Memorial Park, the surfacing is $300,000. So
Yeah.
that's not even one piece of equipment, that's surface. So I don't know the time frame on that. So do we make suggestions, in the meantime, like something
Right.
that has to be done, should be done, where it's dangerous or really not accessible, but they're not going to make improvements to it because they want to redo the whole thing.
The one thing I did notice, like I took my daughter over to that playground, and the accessible swings are in a place where there's like a plaque above it that says that it's only for 2 to 5 year olds.
Okay, is it, or is
That's what it says.
But is the swing a larger size?
It's like, it's like, here, I actually took a picture.
Like a 2-year-old couldn't,
I know.
so the play equipment is not for 2 to 5. But
And
that's like an
the
adult
accessible
size, like I
swings,
could
yeah.
fit in that swing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I took
So,
my daughter in that
okay.
side, and I got looks from toddler moms, and I was like, okay, but these are the accessible swings.
Okay. If accessible, why age limit?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
that
kind of
doesn't make
weird.
sense.
There's like
So-
a big fence in between the regular swings and the accessible swings that like delineates.
Oh, yeah,
like,
I've seen that, that's right.
It just seems weird
Okay.
if they're
What
going to
the-
change anything. If they're not, whatever.
Right,
but
right, okay. I never noticed that. I've been going there for 30 years and never noticed that. So, okay. So that's something, yeah, again, like you said, it's very exciting. I think it's long-term,
I'm sure it
honestly.
is.
So, but it's something that, I know Monica would love to start working on. So we'll just, again, follow up on that and help out where we can. I did also have a conversation with her about the bike paths. So I know that they're working on, obviously, the one by Woodside Road, because they have a grant, from when they did the whole park and ride and all with the new bridge. But I kind of went to her and I said, there's a lot of paths that have more than a half-inch gap, which for anyone in a stroller or a wheelchair, you're supposed to have, no cracks larger than a half-inch. So I asked if she could prioritize maybe where people, like, don't just pick a section of a bike path to do and maybe it doesn't really get used that much. Like, where is the most used bike path? And then see if those bike paths are up, should be redone first. And the one thing I brought up was now that, Pricket Preserve has gone in and all the new apartments. And then if you look at Township Line Road, I would say 5,000 people might live along Township Line Road. So if I was prioritizing, and now that, like I said, Pricket Preserve, they're going to have restaurants and so on, you want to encourage people to go on the bike path, and because Township Line Road, you cannot be in the road, there's no shoulders. So that's a
Right.
dangerous road to be riding a bike out on. So I asked her, I said, can you maybe look at Township Line Road bike paths so people use the bike paths to get to Pricket Preserve, to get to Floral Vale, you know, whatever is Shady Brook, right? People can walk to Shady Brook now from all those places. And I happen to go out there, and the worst place is like right in front of Floral Vale and Purple Leaf, you know, the Chinese restaurant there. There's one gap that's literally 2 feet wide and 1 inch deep. So we're not talking a half inch, we're talking 2 feet that the asphalt or whatever they've used, it looks a little different there. And so I'm going to write to email her and just say, if you want to prioritize Township Line Road, this is the worst of the sections that are really dangerous in my mind. And maybe people aren't riding their bikes on there because it's too bumpy, it's too dangerous. But if you were in a wheelchair, forget it. I mean, that would be dangerous just to be, on there. So, but that's where I'm thinking now, like a lot of our population, I don't know that people realize now how many are along that one area.
Yeah.
And by Edgewood Village, the historic village, and Rose Hollow and all those. That's a big chunk of our population, and so maybe those paths should be looked at first. So, and that's still like Veterans Memorial. We asked for a curb cut there, going from like Yardley Hunt bike paths to the bike path over to the Veterans Memorial. But it's a state road, and we can't really do much about that, but it's on, hopefully it'll be in the works at some point. And then we have no updates from the community center, handicapped door, Macclesfield, pool bathrooms, everything's pretty much on hold. Veterans Park, we haven't seen any new plans coming through for that. The only thing I did reach out to Monica about, I know they wanted to add ADA programming, and we discussed that, and we suggested that Abby kind of take the reins on that. So I reached out, and she said that she would like to have a meeting, so maybe we can have a meeting with Monica and then the new person, Rob, that started.
Yep.
So now that after the pool is closed, so they're kind of busy with kids camp, I think is almost done for the summer, and then the pool will be closing, Labor Day. So then for next year's programming. So as soon as we can, we'll try to maybe get a meeting, and we can meet over at the community center. Yeah, that's where they are. So we'll get going on that after the summer craziness goes away. Although I don't think they're ever not crazy over there, so they always have something going on. All right, any building plan reviews? I think there was, let me just,
Was the Duck Donuts one new?
yeah,
from
the
last
Duck
time?
Donuts, and there was one other one, and, there's really nothing for us to look at. I think the bathroom, everything's really up to code as far as the, the bathrooms are concerned, and we'll check everything as it's, it's not up yet. I mean, I can see the structures,
Right.
like the outer walls are going in, but we'll just continue to follow up on that. Let's see. I don't know if Michelle says she's listening in. And she did look at Memorial Garden, so I'll get back to that. I mean, Memorial Park.
I don't think I can talk. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, hi.
Oh.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's
called in
okay.
Separate. I know that the parking's good, but I have not been able to go back to that playground or the pickleball. But given it's so new, it's probably ADA compliant with everything. But I'll make a note to do that next week or before our meetings and things like that.
Okay. Do you have anything on, I forget what Jim Majewski had said about Duck Donuts. Was there something with he didn't get the plans yet for the bathroom?
I didn't get the plans for the bathrooms. I actually talked to him on a personal thing last week, but he had said something else came in, but he was going to forward it. I haven't seen anything yet, or maybe you did, but
Okay,
everything's probably in the engineering phase. The only thing I saw was what we did last meeting, which was the duck donut stuff, but it didn't show any detail on the restrooms or anything like that.
and then the other one was Michael Jewelers. I think that was the other one that he submitted plans, and that's going to be.
Yes, I haven't seen
Yeah.
that one. No,
Yeah.
so I'll remind him that we can take a peek at that
Yeah.
and make sure everything's up to date.
Okay, all right.
I'm more concerned to make sure we have enough parking spots in the appropriate places.
Yeah.
So I'd like to look more at the parking area too.
And yeah, again, as they get a little more complete, we can go over it before they open and take a look at the parking lot situation. Yeah. Okay.
Yep, that sounds good. And nothing on the restaurant either with,
No, right.
given word of mouth, they've got that elevator and we want to make sure everything's okay. But, you know, the way the engineering design is, it's all probably done on software and make sure it's ADA friendly and compliant. So, but we have to double check it too.
Okay. Yeah, there's really no other building going on other than Pricket at this
No.
point, so it's pretty quiet.
No, the only thing that I am kind of intrigued. We haven't seen anything. I understand something's going into the house, which would that be grandfathered? It's going to be a restaurant in the family house, so that's the one that I'm most interested in. I assume it would probably go to the historic commission, but we should double check. Actually, that Helen just left here on personal stuff, so she had a meeting tonight. I'll ask her if she's seen anything on the Pricket property.
Okay. So you mean the barn has a restaurant and then the house,
The house has something
Okay.
else going on too.
Okay.
I understand.
okay. Yeah, I mean, we haven't been forwarded any plans on that, so.
No, I haven't seen it, so I'll
Okay.
ask her. I'll shoot her an email and say, "Have you seen anything? What's going on?" I only heard it through a person who knew the family and lives in that area, so
Okay.
that was it. Okay, thank you. I'll put me back on mute,
Oh, that's okay. You can stay.
and then
All right. Next, we have new business. Anyone have anything else that you notice going on in any other issues? I mean, because someone said, you know, what else do you do? And I'm like, you know, a lot of people have problems with transportation, but we really, you know, only have Bucks County Transport that they can use in this, you know, area. But I don't think there's much else that we take care of other than reviewing plans at this point and helping Parks and Rec. So, but, you know, we want to encourage, you know, anyone out there that has an issue that they're dealing with. I don't know if our caller from last meeting, you know, if she's had any response from the HOA. So feel free to call in and, you know, give us updates if you're, you know, when you come in here and, you know, just see how you resolve something, because it could help someone else that's, you know, facing similar issues. So we welcome, you know, any follow-up. If you come to us with a concern and you're dealing with it and you resolved it, it would be great to know how you resolved it, just to pass that on to other people that have the similar issues. Anything else? So for our future meetings, I think we can skip September, then if we want to meet in October. What's the date? Do you have a calendar? Is it October 9th, October 9th. So does that work, October 9th for everyone? And then we can cancel this September, and then we can discuss if we need any additional ones after that. So what I'll do is I will update, I'll do an email to Monica, and I'll forward it to everyone first and make sure I've included everything that we talked about for the ADA transition plan. And then maybe we'll just follow up on a couple items. We'll wait for Michelle to look at Memorial Park, and then maybe we'll check a few of the signs. I didn't really touch on Macclesfield because that's really in process, but you know, that is a question similar to the Kids Kingdom Playground. If they're not going to do anything for years, like how many years, let's say, would they have to do something, and then is there anything that we feel should be done in the next 2 years? You know, if it's unsafe, or say there's not adequate handicap parking down at Maccles, say, we know you're going to redo it, but you're not going to redo it for 5 years, 6 years? Yeah, so maybe I have to look at Macclesfield and make sure, I haven't been down there to look at the bathrooms. Have you been?
I haven't been.
Okay, so, you know, to me, the bathrooms are being used every day, and for the next, say that they're not accessible, and they're not updating Macclesfield for 3 years, should they be doing something temporarily,
Yes.
you know, to get through until the major plan is completed? So maybe that's something we have to talk about for Macclesfield
And Kids Kingdom.
and Kids Kingdom, and just make sure there's nothing that we feel in the next couple years, you just have to fix it, you know? Okay. So some of these long-term projects are not, and even like Veterans Park, like they're gonna be redoing a bunch of stuff at Veterans Park, but to me, just having that, the brick sinking, that's a danger. So we wanna, we have to handle that before they even redo the entire, whatever they, plan that they were gonna do out there. So, okay, so I think that's something important. All right, so at the next meeting, we'll just, you know, go over that and make sure that Monica receives everything, and then maybe we'll talk about the short-term projects for some of these facilities, if you see anything. And that's it. So, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Okay, Abby, 6:37. And do I have a second? I'll second.
Second.
I'll second. All right, and everyone in favor? Aye. All right.
Hi.
All right, everyone, have a great rest of the summer. Enjoy Labor Day already and back to school.